coming to you direct from the nerve center of the galaxy's greatest comic. This is the 2000 AD Thrillcast.
Alright, fellow athletes, and welcome to the 2000 AD Thrillcast. I am your host, Mulch R. We're preparing for Thought Bubble this weekend, but we thought we'd spend some time talking about the big announcement from the other week, which was the special schedule for 2020. 12 Zarjaz titles from Rebellion Publishing, and to discuss these on this episode, I'm joined by Keith Richardson.
Hello.
And Oliver Pickles.
Hi there.
And they're two of the brains behind Rebellion's 2020 publishing schedule for next year.
Yeah. Maz couldn't make it. But
yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a lot of comics to produce.
It is. It works out, I think, the equivalent of a new prog every 2 weeks.
Wow.
So yeah. An extra 50% worth of comics.
The thing I think most people have been excited about is the kind of specials that we're bringing back. So I'll just run through the schedule and then we'll talk about individual ones. So we kick off in March. We've got the Action Special, and then the Core Buster Easter Special, the Smash Special, Roy the Rover's Euro 2020 Special, the 2000 AD Sci-Fi Special, which is 20 years of Rebellion.
And nothing to do with us.
No.
Thank God.
Tammy and Jinty Special, Battle, Misty and Scream, Thriller Picture Library, The Return of Sexton Blake, Misty Presents, and then at some point next year, an Evil Genius 2 special. But that's games.
Yeah,
so, that's something entirely different. But like I said, the thing that people would be excited about are the titles that we're bringing back, specifically Action and Battle. Now, Keith, do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of lineup that we've got coming for particularly the Action Special?
Well, the Action Special, we've revisited a lot of the old classic strips from Action. So Kids Rule is back. Hookjaw's back. People are going to love the special guest that's in the Hookjaw strip as well, by the way.
Yeah.
We've also got Helm and a Hammer Force, courtesy of Mr. Garth Ennis.
Yep. And
Mike Dorey, which I've just had some pages through from some pencils through from Mike today, and that looks wonderful. So get excited, kids, about that. And we've got this brand new thing from Henry Flint, which is going to blow everyone's minds. It's completely out there.
Written and drawn by
Henry Flint.
From Henry's brain to your eyes.
Yeah. Very much in the spirit of kind of like those... It's kind of like a futuristic sports strip, so very much in the spirit of what would have run in Action anyway. Mm-hmm. But 20 million times as bizarre in a very good way.
Yeah. And, instead of bringing back something like Spinball, it's that kind of spin on that concept.
Right,
the stakes are just a little bit higher in this one.
Incrementally higher.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, last and certainly not least, we have Dredger returning.
Excellent. So for those people who don't know, Action was a comic that didn't technically last very long in its original incarnation, but has been incredibly influential, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about why that is?
Well, I think simply it just, it took all the big risks that other comics weren't at the time, and it really paved the way for what was to come later on. Especially, in the case of 2000 AD. But also, I think, it had a bearing on stuff like Warrior as well.
Yeah. This was 76.
So,
and the brief span of the untainted Action was only 37 issues. So when it got stopped and paused, which people have heard about, and then they brought it back, it was in this quite neutered form, and then it hooked up with Battle as well, so it became even more watered down.
Yeah.
But those initial 37 issues are very much the genesis of 2000 AD's spirit when that started off. Yeah.
Very gory, very nasty.
Very punk.
Really punk. And then, as you say, it did come back very muted and had weird strips about kids travelling up and down the country on steam trains after a nuclear war.
Yeah.
It was really, really odd stuff. But no, those early stories are really visceral, especially Hookjaw.
Yeah.
I mean, even today it packs a punch when you see some of those early issues.
So in bringing back these strips, are you kind of conscious that action was so visceral and so kind of hard-hitting that there was this moral panic about it? And how do we kind of, I guess, pay tribute to that without necessarily... I don't know, producing a different version of Crossed or something like that.
Oh yeah, well, I think the best way we can pay tribute to it is by getting this one banned,
Right.
as well. We're going to do our damnedest to kind of commission the kind of stuff that will get it banned.
Yeah. I mean, within reason.
Yeah.
Let's not get the lawyers on this just yet.
Yeah.
But speaking of the banned issue, just a small point, we are reprinting that issue, which so few people will have read. The issue that caused the uproar in the offices of IPC Fleetway. We'll be reprinting that and giving it with the comic as part of the web shop edition.
Yeah, so that's exclusively available from copies that are bought either separately through the web shop or as part of the bundle, which is available now to pre-order, which is it's pretty special. Because I was thinking as you say, not many people will have read it because it was pulped pretty quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's been a few copies out there and they all go for silly money on eBay, but we're cutting that down and removing that source of revenue for those 7 people.
Yeah,
but the stories in this new action, although we say, that they're going to be hard hitting, they're not all just about being as outrageous as we can be. Sometimes it's acknowledging the outrageous past and looking at it now with a more contemporary eye.
It's a little bit more sophisticated, as most of today's comics are. It's a little bit more sophisticated than comics of the past.
The Dredger story by Zena Hutton, she's written a great short story, a great short comic. Totally acknowledging the kind of character Dredger was, but obviously looking at him with a 21st century eye of what he was. Yeah.
So kind of similar to the stuff we've done with the specials this year, where it's characters you recognise, characters you don't, but even when it is the older characters, it's still just a little bit of a modern spin on them rather than just repeating the past, I guess.
The Hookjaw story is totally out of action, issue 36.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Hookjaw, you wouldn't be far wrong if you thought it sprung straight from the 70s. People could easily make that mistake, because you can't bring any more depth to Hookjaw, surely. It's a bloody great big shark going around eating us. But yeah, that's the one that's probably tonally more like those first actions.
Yeah.
But everything else, I think it's just a little bit more.
I think Hell Machine's in there as well, in that term of visceral horror.
Very true. Visually, maybe not so much. But certainly, it's all there in the background. It's there between the cracks. It's quite a gruesome little tale.
Yeah.
But certainly everything else. I mean, Kids Were All Okay. I really enjoyed the initial Kids Were All Okay run, but it was just kids going around beating each other up. This one's got a little bit more depth to it, but it does have kids beating each other up.
Right, excellent. Because who's the team on that?
We've got Ram V's writing it, and the art was by Henrik Sahlstrom.
Right, brilliant.
Yeah, Henrik's a recent find of ours, and
he did the first 4 pages of the 13th Floor special that came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's correct. And he done a Death Wish story for the first Vigilant book. So whenever I get the opportunity to bring him back to the fold, I do, because I really like his clean art style. It's lovely, and I think he's perfectly suited for this strip. Excellent.
Well, let's move on to some of the others now. The Corebuster special for Easter, that's more of the same, really, isn't it? From the quite popular one that we had this year.
Yeah, it's even better.
Even better.
It's even better. Despite what that guy said about the cover online, what some guy online said, Kid Kong, the cover's rubbish because Kid Kong doesn't look like Kid Kong. Kid Kong is not real. He's a made-up character. It's subjective, dude. Get over it.
I think we just have to not listen to that.
Yeah. Just thought I'd have to share, but no. This year round, I'm really, really excited about this Corebuster.
Excellent.
I had a lot of fun putting the last one together, but this one, dare I say it, this one's going to top it.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's quite a bold boast.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just great.
What can you share with us on that?
I can tell you that Edward Whateley, who did Captain Crucial versus Fusspot in the first book, has kind of notched it up 100-fold, and he's doing the Squawk Knight Returns, Birdman and Chicken, which is our Birdman and Chicken return. And it just looks, I've got the pages, and it just looks amazing.
Yeah.
It looks like Frank Miller kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's just absolutely great. We've got Steve Mannion, who did the Face 8 last time, is doing is having a crack at doing Frankie Stein this time round with Kevin Scott. Our own Matt Smith has written a lovely Face 8 story, which has been illustrated by John Lucas, who you kids will know from, I think it was Valkyries back in the day on 2000 AD.
Oh, blooming heck. Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but the style's great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
it looks really cool. Sorry, guys, we can't bring Ken Reed back from the other world, but believe me, this style is really cool. John Lucas has got it nailed down. And, of course, we've got an extra dose of Tom Patterson.
Right.
So not only is Tom doing Sweeney Toddler again, which he's also writing, not only is he illustrating a new Grimly Fiendish tale for us, but he's created a brand new character who is going to debut in this issue called Gar, which is basically this goblin who works for a guy called the Big Evil, fighting in this fantasy world, and Gar's all about just he doesn't care about all that. He just wants to fill his stomach. So it's a character who likes to eat a lot. But in the hands of Tom Patterson, it's a whole new thing.
Because the thing with the Core and Buster special this year was the reception was fantastic, and just the number of kids who were picking it up or being introduced to it by their parents, and it feeling as fresh today as it did 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I've had that reaction to it. I was really happy about that because I initially thought I was initially out of my depth a little bit because I did read some Yuma titles when I was younger. But I didn't think it would be my bag. It turns out I've enjoyed working on the first Core Buster up until now. I'd enjoyed working on that more than anything else I've done in my whole comics career.
Right. Wow.
So I had a hell of a blast doing it, and the fact that it was well received is just music to my ears. Like I say, I think this one's going to top it, but I'm glad it went down so well. And dare I say, without getting in any trouble on this podcast, I will take the Pepsi challenge with Core Buster when it comes to the other kids' funny books. Because I'm reading them, and you know what? Here's a little thing that you should know. They ain't funny anymore. They're not funny. It's just a collection of adverts and so stuff. Core Buster's the real deal, man. It'll have you giggling in the aisles. It's brilliant.
We'll have a throwdown in the car park at some point. Yeah,
we'll have to. Oh yeah, no plastic tat this year either.
Excellent. Good. The one that intrigues me the most is the one in May, the Smash special. Now, Smash is a book that I have no memory or experience of. Explain a little bit about what Smash was. Smash
was an Oddham's Press title. It was one of the 5 Power titles, and a lot of great strips generated in Smash, like Janice Stark.
Yep.
But it was mainly it mainly consisted of lots of Marvel reprint. So, of course, we don't have license to put out new Marvel stories, but to all intents and purposes, Smash is it's a comic that's going to have lots of action strips in. So we've looked at all our kind of quirky hero and action adventure strips from across the whole range of comics we have, and we're collecting up all new strips in this one title. So you'll see the likes of the Spider in there.
Excellent.
Mytek the Mighty. You'll see House of Dolman. Which is about a guy who goes around fighting crime with a team of robotic puppets. It's really odd. He kind of voices all the puppets and they have these conversations between themselves.
But it's just him.
But he's a ventriloquist. He's doing all the voices. So they'll argue with him while they're out on a mission. And it's all him. So, he's completely out to lunch. He's proper British kind of comic character.
Yeah.
Really odd one, that one. Kind of scares me a little bit. But he's coming back as well. And we're bringing in the new Thunderbolt the Avenger, who turned up in the 2 Vigilant strips we've had so far.
Okay. It's like her origin story.
Yeah, she's going to be returning. Well, at this present moment in time, I think it's her origin story. Okay. I'm not 100% sure because we haven't had the script through yet, but it might be her origin story.
Right, that's where we're aiming.
Yeah.
We can edit that.
And of course, we've got it wouldn't be as good if we didn't mention that we've got the Steel Claw in there as well.
My favourite.
Yeah, so lots of interesting action adventure stuff in there.
Because the archive just have all these random characters who moved between titles and survived mergers and all sorts.
Titles ended up being absorbed by other things, and so something like Adam Eterno would start off in Thunder but end up in Valiant and things like that.
Well, this is it. I mean, we have got, while we don't have a new Janice Stark in there, we will also have a Cursor to Doom who did originate in Smash.
Right. Okay.
And I've had a lot of feedback from people out there who really love Cursor to Doom and want us to put a Cursor to Doom collection together.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we haven't got a Cursor to Doom collection yet, so hopefully this will kind of appease them for a little while we get to work on that.
Cool. I guess the question is, what's the value in sort of bringing back these, for many people, obscure characters? You know, we've all been reading comics and enjoying comics for a long time. There's, I remember the action special that IPC, Fleetway did in the 1990s, even though they didn't have rights to any of the characters. I really enjoyed it.
Right. Okay.
But that's my experience of those characters. Maybe I picked up some reprint. What's the value in going back and bringing these characters back?
I think this is showing the British superhero characters that there were back then, because they have mostly been forgotten. So everyone knows Spider-Man, Superman, what have you, and they're known. But these British characters are really quirky. They're really weird and off the wall, and they've just been forgotten, and that's a shame. They should be better known, but
they should be better known. Yeah. I mean, the likes of the Spider. I mean, most of the Spider tales were written by Jerry Siegel. One of Superman's dads, and not a lot of people know that fact. But it's really quirky stories, and just since we've got the archive, going through some of these strips, I've just fallen in love with so many of these characters. And again, that Pepsi challenge, man. I'd put the Spider up against any of those big boys at the big two across the pond.
Yeah.
Fantastic strip. And he's got this brilliant gallery of foes, like, the living totem.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely fantastic.
Giant totem poles that bounce around.
A sentient totem pole. It's just brilliant. It's just, really great characters, really good stories, and really lush artwork, the original stuff. And I think there's a lot of mileage in these characters. And also, I think the Past Action special, now I respect a lot of the people that worked on that. It did that. I think a lot of the creators were a little bit indulgent, and these characters strayed so far from what they're originally meant to be. And hopefully that's a right we're going to wrong, because the Spider's not a kind of insane cannibal. He's a master criminal who also has a bit of a good streak. Let's face, he's really a hero, but he's big softy, really. But the way they were depicted in the action special wasn't quite right, and my tech was all over the place as well. And I think tonally, this is going to be much more in tune with what they were meant to be and what they were created to be.
Yeah.
Only with a modern sensibility.
Yeah.
So it's all contemporary tales, and I think we've got a brilliant lineup of people working on it. I've already had a script through for the Spider, which Rob Williams wrote.
Yep.
Completely on point, absolutely brilliant. And John McCrae, as any of you who are like media savvy already know, he's busy beavering away on the art. And seems to be having a whale of a time doing so.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this one. We're gonna reinvigorate the superhero genre.
Yeah.
And sure, definitely. No, it's going to happen. We've got some great characters in there.
Some of these characters are of their time. I'm thinking specifically Mytek the Mighty.
Right.
Are we ignoring things that you wouldn't necessarily get away with now, or are we addressing those? What the creative team's doing?
Well, the creative team for Mytek the Mighty is Sue Yi Davis, who wrote David Mogo, God Hunter, for Solaris, or Abaddon. And he is a guy from Lagos. So the original Mytek the Mighty strip was very much about colonials trying to control the native population of a South African country. Yeah. But with this, we're acknowledging that, and David is... Oh, shit, sorry.
No, it's fine.
So Sue Yi is acknowledging that, and he is bringing a new story about... Well, I'm not going to tell you what the story's about, but it's acknowledging the, slightly racist, or if not racist, patronising tone of the original story, and it is building on that in his own way and moving forward. So it's a contemporary set story where the past stuff did happen,
Yeah.
but now it's different. You know, to compare it to something obvious, Black Panther, in the hands of the current filmmakers with Ryan Coogler directing it, you know, it became this really interesting thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do that again with Suyi. And it's been drawn by a guy called Anand, who is a fantastic Indian artist, and it's going to look amazing.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, he's owning it, and he's really wanted to write a kind of African superhero for some time. It's been a bit of a passion of his. So us giving him the tools to do that from the off, we know that he's just really throwing everything into it. So it's going to be great.
Brilliant. Well, let's move on to the next thing. The Roy Rovers thing. We can talk to Rob Power on another episode in the future. Sci-Fi Special is Matt Smith, so we'll let him have the say on that in the future. Tammy and Jinty again. Now we had the first Tammy and Jinty special this year. Next year it's going to be something slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, last time again, people seem to love it. They really love it, and I'm not surprised why. I mean, it was a great package. It was a real beautiful thing, but you know, everything we've got, almost every title we've got this year is they're all anthologies almost. Apart from the Misty Presents at the back end of the year, this one we want to kind of just pare it down to 2 stories so we could have some longer form stories in there. Because that, if there was one criticism about it, and it didn't come from many quarters, but some people love those stories so much they want to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's the angle we're taking with this one. And yeah, I mean, we haven't dived too deep into it yet because we're concentrating on the first 3 titles out the gate. But Maz is really taking the lead with the Tammy Jinty title this year, and we know she's competent enough to get the right people involved.
Yeah,
she's getting creators that you might not have heard of to work on this. People who haven't worked with us before, interesting new people.
And to be honest, along with Lizzie Boyle, who edited the last one, Maz really was the driving force behind Tammy and Jinty last time round. So it's in very capable, very safe hands.
Excellent. Now, another big one, I'm sure, for our listenership is the Battle Special, which is out in September. Now, I don't know about you, Keith, but when we announced that we had secured the IPC archive, I received a number of messages from various creators just saying, if you don't let me work on X, I'm never buying you a drink again. I mean, that must be kind of a plum job for whoever you approach.
It's you know what, I've been approached by a lot of people. There's a lot of pressure on this title because it's a biggie. It's a Battle of Britain special as well. So
of course, it's the anniversary next year.
This is it. So Battle of Britain is front and centre. But yeah, it's we've started commissioning stories already. I mean, we've already got. It's no secret that Garth Ennis has written a Rat Pack strip, which Mr. Keith Burns is going to be illustrating.
Yeah.
So that promises to be. I mean, the script was great, and we know that when it comes to war comics, Keith Burns his face is in the kind of dictionary when you look it up. So we've got a great team on there. But again, Rob Williams. I keep naming the same names. We've got quite an eclectic group of people involved in these comics. But Rob, again, he's written a brilliant strip about a destroyer ship in this one, and it's fantastic.
It's going to have a painted cover by Keith Burns as well.
This is it.
The premier airplane artist. Let's get him to do a Battle of Britain cover. Why not? Seems obvious.
Perfect.
And I've just signed up Dan Abnett to do something. Dan was a massive Battle fan back in the day. So he's over the moon to be working on it as well. So we've got some really strong creators involved. We've got a bit of time on this one still, so we're desperate to get it right. So we're just taking it very slowly and making sure we've got the right people involved.
Because Battle, again, is like Action, is one of those comics which has had a massive impact. Far beyond its pages, because the influence, it wasn't just creators who were going to work on 2000 AD, it was the influence on subsequent generations who read these war stories that they weren't tales of daring do. They were gritty and nasty and sometimes quite almost, I guess, irreverent in a way that war comics hadn't been before. But it can, I mean, you talk to anyone of a certain age and Battle was the comic that they really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Garth Ennis is the man to talk to about Battle,
exactly.
and the influence it had on him. I think if it wasn't for Battle, dare I say, there might not have been Garth Ennis. We might not have had him in comics world. But yeah, it's incredibly influential, and that's why we're, reluctant to say too much on it right now. But it's in good hands, and I'm really excited about some of the people that are coming forward. There's some other names that I can't quite announce yet who are involved. But yeah, I think people get quite excited about it, and rightly so. It's going to be a real doozy.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the few 100-page specials.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is 4 progs in one go.
No, I'm already people really excited about that. When we did the kind of soft announce at New York Comic Con, that was big response from people, which is always nice to see. So moving on, we've got Misty and Scream special, which again, not much information of that at the moment, but we shall see, and it's coming out at exactly the right time.
Yeah, we're getting pitches in for that now.
Right.
So just want a nice chilling kind of horror story for Christmas. I mean, Christmas and horror go together hand in hand.
Yeah.
We've got a tradition of like ghost stories of Christmas, so we want something like that. With a kind of a little smattering of Black Mirror chucked in.
Yeah.
Nice female protagonist, Bob's your auntie, is going to be great. But yeah, we're currently waiting on some pitches. So if you do it, it's too late to pitch, by the way. So please don't inundate us with pitches. Yeah.
A couple of sort of left field entries in the list: the Thriller Picture Library special and the Return of Sexton Blake. Now, these are straight out of the archive, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because talking about characters that were big once, but maybe the people not necessarily heard of them now. Sexton Blake was huge.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the biggest fiction characters going. You've already mentioned Sherlock Holmes. James Bond.
He was this.
He's in that kind of mould of James Bond, isn't he?
Yeah. He was like a two-fisted Sherlock Holmes, or a more thoughtful James Bond, however you want to look at it. But yeah, he was that globe-trotting, both private eye and sometimes spy kind of crossover thing. Yeah. But yeah, he had it all going for him. It was whatever the writer wanted to write about. Yeah. He was that. Yeah.
Didn't have a steel claw though, did he?
No, he didn't have a steel claw.
There you go. Still great. Got to sell our own books. Still brilliant.
The Thriller Picture Library.
Yeah.
Now, I'd never heard of Thriller Picture Library until we bought the archive.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain a bit about that?
Thriller Picture Library was a picture library series, like the same size as the Battle Picture Library, the War Picture Library, or Commando that's currently going to give readers a contemporary
that kind of digest size.
A digest size comic. Thriller Picture Library had a couple of different characters like Battle of Britain and Spy 13. One of the other characters was a character called John Steele, who was like a private detective type. And we are reprinting 2 of his stories, and they were the ones drawn by.
With a name like that, though, he's not going to be he's not going to be a PE teacher, is he?
No.
I mean, it's a great cover though.
Oh yeah,
John Steele, PE teacher. But these will be drawn by Luis Bermeo, who also drew the Johnny Future book that we're publishing next year. And this collection is going to be recolored, coloured by Pippa Boland.
Oh, right, okay.
Who's just currently doing the Judge Anson stuff in the magazine with Maura McCune and Patrick Goddard doing that. But yeah, she's colouring these. I've seen her pages and they look pretty great. We're kind of going for like a Batman Year One Richmond Lewis colouring.
Okay.
So that's going to be nice. And it's kind of a cover by VV Glass, who's going to do a great sort of noirish kind of cover. Yeah.
It's all about variety, isn't it? So it's just a different format to kind of get back out there. It seems to be doing Commando no harm.
Yeah.
So, we've got, for example, the Smash special is going to be more like a US format comic. Obviously, the 2000 AD Sci-Fi special follows the regular 2000 AD format size. And yet the digests are just it's just a different way of presenting a story.
Yeah, we're just about to publish the first of the actual War Picture Library graphic novels, and so people will be able to see this new format. It's sort of slightly larger than the old digest, sort of blows the artwork up. Yeah. And this Thriller Picture Library magazine will be printed in that format, so people will be able to see. It won't be digest like how people expect it. It'll be slightly smaller than slightly squarer than a US graphic novel,
Right.
but not quite as big as our Treasury graphic novels.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it helps the artwork, pop.
Yeah. Let's talk just a little bit about the mechanics of these specials, because you're on the vast majority of them you're commissioning brand new material. You're asking writers and artists to go back to characters that ran for some of them for many years. What are the mechanics of putting something like this together? What are you looking for? Are you starting with an idea of what you need, or is that does that evolve as people deliver their pitches?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends from title to title, really. Having basically weighed heavily on creators to kind of pitch me stuff first time around with Core Buster, I kind of knew what worked and what didn't. So I've gone back to, the people I thought really came through last time and strips that really came through. So it's kind of, it hasn't required as much work as, say, Battle, which, we're trying to get that out for the first time. So it's just a lot of thinking and a lot of going back over what really stood out for Battle last time round. What are we trying to say with this battle, with this particular one-off? So every title's kind of a little bit different. With the Smash special, and then with specials like Action and Smash, I wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. So you've got brand new people, brand new creators who they might not be new to the industry, but they haven't kind of worked in for us before and on these kind of stories before. With a little kind of smattering of like the old school. So, you get, brand new people like Ram V writing for Action, and Dan Lish illustrating Hookjaw. But you've got, an old guard in Garth Ennis who, while he didn't work for Battle, he's pretty much Battle through and through. And then you've got, people like Staz Johnson, who was another super fan, and Mike Dorry, who is off that generation. So it's just trying to bring a bit of what made it great back in the day, a bit of kind of classic, but also something new as well. And that's certainly the case with Smash and Action and Scream and Misty. And
with these older characters, how do you? And I'm pretty sure I've asked this question 1,000 times before. How do you avoid that kind of nostalgia fest? Is it just trusting the creators to tread that line?
Yeah, I think that comes with hiring new people. When I initially spoke to Ram V, he said to me, "I've never read Action. I have no idea about this." And I said, "Don't worry about that. I can send you the Kids Rule stories, and you can read those, and then you can give me your fresh take on it."
Yeah.
I knew Ram V was a great writer. I knew he could do this. The fact that he's got no connection to the source material is fine.
Yeah.
He isn't wallowing in nostalgia. It means, it doesn't sort of hark back to when he was 8 and was reading these comics. But he can, as a mature professional writer, see the story and then go along from that end point of those initial issues.
And it's also a very easy, very exciting concept.
Yeah,
you can explain what Kids Rule is in like a sentence.
Yeah, all these all the characters from Smash have a really interesting like 3-line pitch.
Yeah.
That someone can just dive off of and do their own thing with.
Pretty much the same with Action.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same with Scream and Misty characters as well. You don't it is sometimes it can be problematic if you have someone who's so kind of steeped and so into an actual strip or a comic title that it's almost a religious thing for them, so that they can't really stray. They basically box themselves in. Where when you just get incompetent creators who aren't as familiar, they tend to take more risks.
Because it's interesting that Garth, for example, is doing a couple of things for these specials. Yeah. When he said it on this podcast, when he was writing Dredd, he was too respectful of it. He couldn't necessarily do anything with it because he didn't want to mess around with it. Whereas with the Action and Battle stuff, he kind of loves it so much that this is like a dream come true. So it's almost the voice that you need for something, particularly something like Rat Pack. I mean, the real tragedy is that Carlos isn't here to see it.
This is true. Yeah, very true. But it's like case in point with like Maura McCune, who we've already talked about here. She's working on Smash as well. She's writing the Cursor of Doom story.
Yeah,
and she is a horror writer, and her natural inclination is to write horror stories.
Yeah.
So when she'd never heard of Cursor of Doom, when I sent her over some of the material, she was like, "This is me. I can do this. This is me. I've got it. I've got it."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want. She doesn't feel she's not boxed in by the past, but I think she can bring some fresh new ideas to it without straying too far away from the original source material.
Yeah. Brilliant. Just on the topic of older characters, and this isn't part of the specials thing, but we've just announced, Oliver, that we're doing the Janice Stark Perfect Bound 48-page magazine, which is coming out at the end of November. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, number one, that, and then why we're doing it in that format rather than necessarily doing like a proper book collection? Yeah.
Well, Janice Stark, as we've said, character from Smash. He was Victorian era illusionist by day and crime fighter by night. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who had rubber bones and he could squeeze in and out of prison bars.
When did he sleep?
He didn't sleep. Didn't have to sleep. Only crime sleeps.
Yes,
not Janice Stark.
No, crime never sleeps.
Well,
then Janice Stark sleeps less,
right?
Even less
than never sleeping crime. Yeah.
But they were these fantastic stories in a completely different vein to the other sort of superhero stuff that it was appearing alongside.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring those back as a slightly more affordable kind of way of publishing them. Because with the Treasury books, we either do these quite expensive hardcovers or... what else do we do in the Treasury?
Kind of the big chunky paperbacks.
The big chunky paperbacks, yeah. Whereas this was a way to have like a series of short 48-page comics. So these this series of specials, starting with the Janice Stark, is a way of just finding a new avenue of publishing them and getting them reprinted in a way that people can read them. Hopefully, and enjoy them. That'd be really nice to carry on the series.
Someone I was talking to about Janice Stark was like, every crime he solves requires him to squeeze through a really small space. Yeah. But actually, I was flicking through the copies that we got in the office, and actually in the first sort of few cases, he doesn't do an awful lot of squeezing through spaces. He gets knocked out an awful lot.
He does, yeah.
And he takes his shirt off an awful lot.
Yeah, gets locked in a box. Yeah. And his hairless chest gets shown off every other episode.
It's incredibly smooth.
Yeah.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
No.
I have a smooth chest. Don't put that in. Don't put that in.
No, that's going in, mate, whether you like it or not. No, it's good. Excellent. Well, I mean, go on.
I would say one of my favourite things about Janice Stark is on the publishing side, it carried on in France for an extra 10 years, and they killed him off in the last issue. And this stuff has never been published in English.
Right.
So there's literally another 10 years worth of Janice Stark that English language readers have never read, including the death of Janice Stark.
It doesn't count.
What do you mean?
That doesn't count. They can't kill him off.
They kept him alive for so long.
Oh man, le wrong.
Well, I guess this format, as you say, is kind of perfect to introduce people to new characters. So
it costs the same as like the Christmas prog.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is then: are we looking to other kind of classic characters like that?
Yeah. We've got. Well, okay. So yes, we are. We have plans. Nothing is set in stone, but we would love to do more Janice Stark for sure. Carrying on, Kelly's Eye is another one.
Yeah.
We've got plans for the Rat Pack versus Major Easy story.
Really good.
Yeah. There are plans in the future. Buy it, and these plans will come to fruition.
Wonderful. Well, I've kept you away from your desk for far too long. Thanks very much for talking about the specials. If there is one highlight that you're looking forward to the most of what we've what we know is going to be in next year's specials. What is it, Keith?
Seeing the living totem in the spider strip, just realised by the great John McCrae. Seeing a living totem spin-off series on a t-shirt. I'm all about the living totem. God bless him. I love him, even though he'd kill me on sight. He doesn't like people, but my God, beautiful stuff.
Who does?
Of course, I'm really excited about Birdman and Chicken. I think it looks great. Hookjaw is going to be really memorable, and just having Garth Ennis back home is brilliant in itself.
Yeah,
he belongs with us, Garth.
Oliver, what about you?
A few things, if you'll indulge me.
Yeah, by all means.
I will say this: I'm so looking forward to people reading the Dan Lish Hookjaw. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Also, the Xena Hutton Dredger story, drawn by Staz Johnson, I think is very good. Really looking forward to people reading that. But on a fanboy level, for me, the third thing I'm really excited for is seeing Danijel Žeželj draw the Steel Claw.
Is he drawing Steel Claw?
He is drawing Steel Claw. Not only that, I'm going to spend all my paycheck buying that original art from him.
Well, there's so many things to choose. I mean, having Tom Patterson back. I mean, the guy's just, an old school legend, and rightly so. I mean, he's just a brilliant artist. But I'm also excited about, the Misty and Scream this year is shaping up quite well.
Yeah.
And we're getting some excited pitches through for Misty Presents. So it's all a highlight for us. We commissioned it because we think it's great.
Just on the Misty Presents, quickly. The Scream and Misty Presents 13/4 special just came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
One thing people have said is they really enjoyed that it was one long story, and we're taking that to heart with the Misty special.
Yeah.
So we really want to try and push that as one long big Christmas annual story.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because, I mean, as you say, what better time for a ghost story than at Christmas?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, guys, thanks very much indeed. Those of you who have not yet ordered your bundle from the 2000 AD or Treasury of British Comics web shops, head along there and give us some cash, and we will send you comics in the post virtually every month next year. We are off to Thought Bubble at the weekend in Harrogate, so hopefully see some of you Earthlets there. The script and art competitions will hopefully be recorded, depending on technical requirements. So we may well be bringing you them in a future episode. But until next time, Earthlets, from Keith.
Adios.
From Oliver.
Goodbye.
And from me, Splundig Verthrig.
Fill power levels dangerously high. Alert, alert. Read 2000 AD every week. Ask your comic book store or newsagent now. Subscribe to the galaxy's greatest comic at 2000ADonline.com. Subscribe digitally on our apps for Apple, Android, and Windows 10. And download DRM free copies from 2000ADonline.com. Alert, alert. Stand by for urgent updates. Search for 2000 AD on Twitter and Facebook. Watch the latest videos at youtube.com/2000 AD online. And follow on Instagram at Insta2000 AD. Program complete. Shutting down.